welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we're on the second and the final book in the Modern Fairy Tale Duet series by Skye Warren. If you haven't already listened to the first book in the series, which is called Beauty and the Professor, that link is going to be available down below in the description section. Once you finish that book review, you can come back and join us as we dive into Falling for the Beast. So we're going to fast forward about 3 weeks and we're at the end of the semester. So it's 3 weeks prior to the end of this semester. And so, of course, Blake is missing Aaron terribly. He sees a car approach and he thinks, please don't be Aaron because, I don't know if I have the strength to tell her no. Well, Aaron still has her key, so she comes in and he's like, what are you doing here? And so she tells him, she's here to work. Since they can't be lovers, then she can clean his house. So she was also very honest, and she told him, it also allows me to be around you. So they have a little back and forth about this. And of course, while they're having this back and forth, his dick is getting hard. And so old girl gets on her knees and she gives him a blowjob. And she even sticks a finger in his pucker and he just comes all in her mouth. So then he eats her pussy like a madman. They have another talk. And then he tells her that after the faculty ball, that's when they can be together. Because that's the official end of the semester. Everything will have been graded. Then we can be together. So she agrees, but tells him, he has to come home with her to meet her mother. And he agrees to that. So before they part, he's going to get it in as much as he can. So they did it for like another 5 times. And he also asked Aaron to move in with him. She didn't give him an answer because she still has that whole imbalance thing with money. And so that still weighs on her. So she didn't give him a response. We fast forward another week. And now it's 2 weeks before the end of the semester. So Erin's home. She's watching An Affair to Remember, which is a total romance classic. I absolutely love that movie. She's crying because, how can you not with this movie? Her roommate Courtney comes home and looks like a teenager being caught. And Erin knows right away, oh, she's back with Derek. So Courtney was like, I know you don't approve, but he's not that bad. Erin doesn't say it, but thinks in her head, he's a total douchebag. And he basically only calls her when he's bored. But she just tells her, it's your life. And if you're okay with that, then, hey, that's all that matters. So Courtney makes a statement that, everyone can't hit the boyfriend jackpot like you. I was like, see, this is what makes me wonder about the friendship, okay? Because why would you make that statement? If you're unhappy with who you're with, you're accepting crumbs from some dude. And you're upset that your friend doesn't have to do that. Guess what? You don't have to do that either. You're making a choice. But it's I don't like that. Why are you trying to make her feel guilty? She shouldn't feel guilty for being happy with someone who treats her with respect. Fuck, that's not that hard. You know what I mean? But I don't like that. Makes me kind of look at the friend. I don't know. I don't want to say, oh, she's jealous. I just don't feel like that's a good friend. You're in the situation that you're in because you made a choice to do that. You know what he's about. You've done this back and forth with this guy. Pretty much it seems like their whole collegiate, career, right? So you know what he's about. And you keep accepting it because you feel, I guess, some form of love for this man. But he don't treat you worth shit. So it's why are you upset with her? Because she has someone that literally loves her, wants to know about her, cares about her. You can't be mad about that. And her making that statement, to me, is yes, it's jealousy. And it's I just don't feel like it's a good friend because it's you're trying to poke at me. The girl didn't even say anything wrong. She didn't even say what she was really thinking, which is he's a fucking douchebag and he don't give a shit about you. She didn't even say that part. She just told you, hey, you're an adult. You make your own decisions. And because you're making a fucked up decision, it's you want to poke at her. I don't like that. I don't like the little Courtney girl. That irked me. That was my mini rant. So then her and Courtney talk about her thesis, and apparently she's doing something about the senator, and she's had an interview with like the former intern of the senator. So she doesn't go into specific details, but whatever happened could affect the relationship that she has with Blake, because the senator is his father. So it's 3 days before the end of the semester and Blake's last class with Aaron. And before class, Aaron speaks with a guy named Bailey. And they were talking about their plans after graduation. And he tells her, that basically he knows she's taken by the professor. And thus the reason he never basically shooted his shot. So she was like, how did you know? And it's basically because of the looks they both give each other. It's like, dude, if you sitting up there if there's like this lingering, like possessive look you're giving to each other, of course people notice things, So it's now the last day of the semester. She's turned in her thesis and asked, all the questions got all the questions asked to her from the professor. It's called a professor board, I think. I can't remember the exact name. When she leaves, Melinda comes up to her and tells her, you did a really good job, even better than some of my, doctoral candidates. So she apologizes to her for what she had done and basically says, she missed what she had with him. And, she just saw how different he was now. And basically she wanted it back. So she lets her know that she knows who the thesis is about, even though she doesn't use the name in her thesis paper. But I guess being what the situation was, Melinda figured it out. So she goes home, talks with Courtney, who's going on a ski trip with Derek, even though she doesn't like the cold or heights. She even says that he probably just forgot. See, again, you accept trash, right? And just because it's an opportunity to spend time with him, you're doing stuff you don't even want to do. Or shall we say that you hate? Because I don't think it's horrible to try, to try new things if it's something your partner likes. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if it's something like you got a fucking fear of heights, or you really hate the cold, why would someone that lets you know they didn't think about you at all in this plan? This is all about them. But again, she made that choice. I don't feel sorry for her. Erin gets a call from a doctor at a hospital that her mother has had a massive heart attack. So Blake is at the faculty ball. He speaks with a guy, I think Jeremy. That's the one who got offered him the position in the first place. The Jeremy guy takes him to the basement where all the good booze and tenure professors go. So he even asked Blake, if he and Melinda have anything still going on, because he wants to ask her out. And then he even asks for advice. So Blake tells him, that nothing's going on and, basically have at her, But the guy wanted like more intel. So this is weird, right? So if I'm telling you, I'm no longer with the person, go after them, have some form of game for yourself, or ask someone else. But why are you asking this man about basically help me get her? Like, dude, I've told you I'm not in this. There's a clear path for you. Why do I need to tell you how to get her? No, figure it out. And the dude caught an attitude with him. And I was like, why are you getting upset with him? Like, he's basically letting you know, I don't want nothing to do with the bitch. I don't want anything to do with her. Go at it. Do what you want. And you giving him an attitude. I don't know. I thought that was just super weird. And if you ain't got enough the game to get her, leave her alone. Simple as that. So Blake then asks for the thesis papers for the senior class because he likes to see what the future minds are talking about. So since Erin's car isn't working, she will try to take a cab to get back home. Because remember in the last book, her car was kind of on its last leg. So she's not going to be able to take a 300-mile hike in that car. The cab driver, because she took a cab to the campus, and well, first she took the cab to Blake's house. He wasn't there, and then she thought, oh shoot, he's at the faculty hall. She took a cab to the campus, and she had asked the guy, because she kept calling Blake this whole time and she couldn't get him. And so she had asked the cab driver, like, how much would it cost, like, one way to whatever place she lives 300 miles away. He was like, well, it'll just be a flat rate of $450. She has it, but it is going to wipe her out a little bit, but she does have it. So she was about to take it, but then, because she kept, trying to call good old Blake, but it kept going to voicemail. So then she saw her ex, Doug. And so he stopped and they talked, and he asked, what was wrong, because he could, tell on her face something's wrong. And she told him what was going on with her mother. So he offered to take her. So he apologized for the dick move that he did before leaving her. And he was trying to make it up to her. So she agreed, and then she called Blake, left a message telling him what had happened and that she was catching a ride with Doug. So Blake is in the basement playing pool when one of the guys says, I better go because I'm sure the wife's been calling and I haven't been getting it because there's bad reception down here. And he didn't want to get in trouble, so he was leaving. So that makes Blake look at his phone, and he sees there's no bars. So he runs out of there, gets to his car, and then finally he gets a signal. There's 13 missed calls, and he listens to the messages. While she's at the hospital, Doug tells her that he knows it isn't the right time, and he doesn't need an answer right now, but he basically wants another chance. And I'm thinking, how inappropriate. This is see, that's a selfish person too, because it's this is an emergency type of situation. No, I'm not really concerned about a relationship status, right? Why would you put that on me? It's now you're trying to put in something else I got to think about. That, again, he's a selfish person, and you can tell. It makes perfect sense. So he told her, that he knows her mother didn't steal from his parents, but before she can say anything is, basically not going to happen, she hears Blake's booming voice, and he's asking about her mother to one of the nurses. So Blake sees Aaron, and the way that he was looking and the way Aaron was looking, Doug knew automatically he didn't have a chance in hell. They were clearly together. So he goes down, Blake goes down to the cafeteria, buys food. He even buys food for the person behind him as he notices they had to put some things back. And he just told the cashier, just tell them that people have been paying it forward all day, so the woman wouldn't be suspicious or embarrassed. So he gets back to the room, and Erin is gone. But her mother has woken up, and her and Blake have a little conversation. And the mom just wanted to let him know, you better not hurt my baby. And that just because you have money, it doesn't mean you get to control her and make her into something that she isn't. And I get what the mother's saying. I get it. Yes, understood. But again, clearly you can see you have this hang up, and I really don't like when people try and make their hang ups other people's hang ups, right? And that's what she's doing. So I get it. You want to protect your kid. Okay, I'll give you that one. But you have a specific hang up when it comes to rich people because of something that has happened to you, and you want your child to have these same type of hang ups when it comes to rich people. And it's kind of thankfully the girl kind of has a mind of her own, because if she didn't, she would have turned down someone that truly loved her and really would do anything in the world for her. She would have turned it down because of a hang up that her mother has. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, that just kind of was I get it, but you need to chill out too. So Blake is having a hard time in the hospital because of what happened to him and how long he had to be in the hospital. So Erin was on her way back from the restroom, and she saw him go into this little closet. So she goes in with him, and he has this look of panic on his face. And he tells her, what's wrong. And she lets him know she's going to give him a new memory. So old girl sucks him off and lets him come in her mouth. And then he fingers her and says filthy things to her and makes her come. So that might help a little. They finally get her mother back home after a few days. There was like a small complication that kept her there a little bit longer. They had to replace all the food that she had because it was cheap food, which meant it's loaded with sodium and everything else that she doesn't need. He was going to sleep on the couch, but then he decides to go into Erin's room, and he went in just to lay next to her. But when she felt his body, she wanted some, and so they have a nice little fuck. I don't know. Like, could I do it? I don't know. I would feel weird. I don't know. I don't know. But I guess maybe if you're quiet enough, you can have a little fun. But oh my gosh. So afterwards, he goes and looks at her thesis paper and sees that it was about a senator from upstate. And he's like, oh shit. So the next morning, Erin wakes up and she's like, where is Blake? And he's in the kitchen with her mother, and they're having a little conversation about Erin. And of course, she's like, I hope you aren't telling any embarrassing stories. And of course, the mother is. So Erin's going to stay and help her mother for the next few weeks, and lets Blake know that when she gets back, she is going to move in. And of course, he was ecstatic. So it's 3 weeks later, and she's come back, and she's going to surprise Blake when he comes home and be naked all in the bed. And of course, he loves his surprise, and they have a great time. He fingers her and eats her. And then she says to him, marry me. And he goes and gets the engagement ring and asks her to marry him, and she says yes. So the next morning, he, of course, is so happy, but he can't help but think about the scandal with his father. Now, they still haven't told us exactly what the scandal is, but we knew it was something that bad had happened. He knew a little bit about a scandal, but he just thought it was an affair. He didn't think, but clearly the way he's describing it, as far as saying, I thought it was just an affair, it clearly something else had to have happened. So this should be interesting when we find out that. Blake has a nightmare from the day the IED blasted, and when he woke up, he was on top of Erin. He was terrified because he couldn't think of what he had done to her, but she told him, you were just trying to hold me down. You kept saying, stay down. So he freaked out because he was still having these dreams. So then he starts eating her pussy like it was a lifeline. And she wanted him to be inside her, and eventually he fucked her into oblivion. So he, of course, is having all of these doubts about not being good enough for such a good person. And clearly we know it's kind of crazy how both people can have that same thought process, but for different reasons. They both think they're not good enough for the other person. She because of money and status, and he because he's been through like a traumatic experience, and it's left him with a lot of PTA. He has PTSD, and then the physical, burden he has to look at every day of what happened, So they both have hangups. So they're gonna go visit his parents. Both of them are very nervous. Apparently, when she had told her mother who Blake's parents were, her mother had gotten off the phone really quickly. So clearly there's going to be some type of story with that too. So she, of course, due to all her insecurities, is thinking that Blake is going to be embarrassed of her because she doesn't come from money and status. But he's worried about the truth that he's going to find out when he gets there. So they meet the parents. They're cold as hell, just as she thought. Blake tells them that they're getting married, and the mother was like, oh, really? And said, I really don't ask for too much, she was just being really condescending. So he wasn't trying to hear anything she said, and he told her that, they had a long drive and they're going to go upstairs and they'll meet them for dinner. The mom had 2 separate rooms, but he wasn't having that, and neither was Erin. And so they slept in his childhood room. He wanted to sleep in the bigger room, but she wanted to be in the place where he had his first, everything. Which is, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. I don't know. But that's what she wanted. I guess she wanted to be in that space. So that's where they slept, in his childhood room. So they, of course, have a nice fuck. And she even squirted in his mouth and he swallowed it. So, of course, she looks at him and she makes the comment, I hope I'm enough. And I'm like, I feel bad for her. And this is kind of what I mean with that mother constantly saying, like, rich people think they're da 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 da. So if you're telling me that rich people think X, Y, and Z, then are you telling me that we're not because we don't? Or you're just telling me that every rich person is going to think that I'm less? You know what I'm saying? Like, you put that in her so much that she has this complete complex to where this man has shown her how much he loves her, asked her to marry. I mean, she asked him first, but he was going to ask her anyway. Told his parents that he don't even deal with. This is who I'm going to be with. That's it. And she still thinks I'm not good enough. I feel bad for her because I feel like the seed is kind of was planted in her mother. Well, I don't think the mother meant to do it. She thought she was just trying to put walls up around the child so that they wouldn't experience any pain that she might have felt, you know. But it kind of crippled her because there's this overwhelming insecurities that this girl has about everything, you know. It's sad. It really is sad. So they go down for dinner, and it's kind of blah because Blake was had said something to his dad about talking about like days of old when he was in office, and that got him carried away. After dinner, they go upstairs. She starts sucking him off, but she could tell like it wasn't enough for him, and so she asked him like, "Tell me what you want." And at first, he was like, he wouldn't say it. He just refused to say it. And she was like, "No, tell me." And finally he told her, "I want to fuck your mouth." And he was like, "But only if it's okay." And so she was a little afraid, but it's like she wanted to give that to him. And so she lets him fuck her mouth. And he comes down her throat. And then he fingers her and makes her come because she's begging him. She's like, "I need you. I need you." So the next day, she's playing chess with Blake's dad, and she beats him. And then Blake takes his dad in the office so they can have a talk. Well, while they talk, she gets cornered by the mother, Belle. I think the dad's name is like Jebediah, and the mother's name is Belinda, so they call him Jeb and her Belle. So she was trying to run upstairs, but the mother caught her. So the mother was like, we should get to know each other. And Aaron was like, "I'm kind of tired." But Belle wasn't going to let her go. And basically goes in on her and says, you won the jackpot getting yourself a professor. And Aaron tells her, I love him. And the mother let her know that she was trash and always would be. I say, you bitch. Wow. That's bold as fuck. And nasty. Oh my gosh. While in the room, Blake has a conversation with his father, and we find out that the father had fallen for the intern and the mother had found out. Well, Belle approached the girl and kind of beat her up and has this issue with younger women and older men. And Blake realizes as he's getting told this story, oh shit, and I done left Aaron in the room with my mother. So the mother grabs Aaron's wrist, told her that all men do with women like you are fuck you, but they won't be with you. I'm the type of woman that they need and they keep. And at first Aaron was being like all scared and shit, but then she realized she got like a little backbone, and she realized, bitch, I'm a grown ass woman, and she wasn't gonna like take this shit anymore. So she threw her hands off of her, which threw Belle, and she landed on the floor. So Blake walks in just as this has happened, and he yells at his mother, and he says, "What did you say to her?" And I like that, and shout out to Blake. Like, I was pissed off at him at the end of the last book. But shout out to him for walking in and knowing that, this girl didn't do anything. Your mother had done something. I like that he didn't do what she was afraid he was going to do, which was automatically think the mother was, was being victimized or some bullshit. He knows his mother. He knows this is a cold fucking woman. And after learning that story, he realizes, oh, she has a complex with, young women and older men, because they have a 15-year age gap. So all of it makes sense. So I was happy about that, because if he had took that mother side, I don't know if Erin could have recovered, because she's so delicate when it comes to that. I don't know if old girl could have recovered, but I was glad. Shout out to him. He did. He was good. So Aaron kept saying to him, just get me out of here, just get me out of here, because he was like, are you hurt? He was like trying to send Aaron upstairs because he was going to go in on the mom. And Aaron was like, no, just get me out of here, just get me out of here. So they go upstairs, they pack their stuff, they get the hell out. So when they leave, because they were due to see the mother the next day, they were going to drive to go see her, and they didn't want to show up early. So he took her to like this place where there's like great views of the city. And she kind of let him know that basically all these fears that she has about not being good enough. And, his mother saying that stuff to her it just put her in a really fucked up space. And he told her about the conversation that he had with his dad. And she lets him know that she knows that he will protect her at all costs. Because it was bothering her that she could be the reason for the demise of the relationship with the parents, because she, had thought to herself, like, I couldn't live with myself, being in this relationship, knowing that I caused some type of divisiveness. But that's not the case. He don't really fuck with them anyway. The dad doesn't seem as bad, because the dad was just like, get her out of here, make sure she's okay, get her out of here. And he's like, I'll handle your mother, So the dad might not be that bad, but that mother, she fucked up. Not saying that the daddy's good, because he clearly cheats, but I mean, as far as treating people like garbage because they don't have the same, pedigree as you, he doesn't seem to necessarily do that. So that's good. Well, at least say that part of him is good. So, of course, they're outside. He's getting the hard on because when Blake is near Aaron, his dick gets hard. So they have like this really hard fuck, but she kept saying, before, like, okay, when he started, he wasn't doing it hard enough for her. And she kept saying, don't hold back. I need you to go hard. I need it hard. And so he thought she wanted him to fuck her hard because this would be a reason for her to leave. But it wasn't that. She just needed to feel every part of him. So while he was fucking her, he told her, tell me, what she said to you. And tell me why you're hurting. And so she told him about what she had said, calling her trash. And this is crazy because they're having this whole conversation while fucking. And he was like, you're not trash and you're more than good enough for me. All while pounding into her. So they both, of course, come violently after this confession. So then they go to her mother's house. They have a group hug, and he feels like the mother really has accepted him. Erin has a mark on her face from the tree, and she tells her mother that she fell, but her mother knows what they were really doing. So we find out that the mother used to work for Blake's family, and she had an affair with the father. And she said he was a good man, even though they were having an affair, and he allowed the wife to fire her, and he didn't stick up for her. And that was why she had kind of shut herself off and was afraid Erin would do the same thing, which Erin had been doing. But thankfully, she stopped that little family curse that the mother had probably started. I'm just saying. But see, that's even more layers to it, right? So you had the one family accuse her of stealing. It wasn't that. The dad had tried to come on to her, Doug's family, right? The dad tried to come on to her and she rejected him. So that's what happened with that. And they lied on her and said she stole. Then you find out, I think this was before Erin was born, when she had this affair with, it might have been, or she was really young, when she had the affair with Blake's dad. So he chose to be with his family rather than you. I don't know if that's, but is that because of the whole rich thing, or is it because like I got a whole fucking family and I'm not going to leave them to be with you? So he might not have felt enough for you. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of ways to look at it, but it seemed like the mother just honed in on the whole thing of money. And she tried, and she did. She passed that same type of crap down to the kid. So they go back home a few days later. He has a nightmare and he realizes that the nightmares are not going to stop, but it's okay because he does have Erin. They have a nice heart fuck, and then 6 months later, they get married. And after their wild tree experience, Blake tells her that he has the perfect tree for them and that he wants her to keep the dress on. And that's how it ends. This was a super cute read. I really liked it. I just I liked it. It could have been one book, to be perfectly honest with you. They weren't really long books, like, at all, so it could have been one book. But I thought it was a really cute story. Just the whole thing of loving someone in spite of, maybe seeing physical flaws or emotional flaws. You know what I mean? Because she's emotionally a little fucked. You know what I mean? And so is he. So they have, like, a lot of flaws, but being able to kind of see beyond that and see the beauty in a person is, like, that's a beautiful story. I will give it that. I'm not sure what we're gonna do coming up next week. I don't know if we're gonna do a one and done or if we're gonna dive into a series. I got a lot of series I want to review with you guys, so we'll see. It'll be a surprise. If you are in the neighborhood for a beautiful notebook, I do have a link in the description below where you can purchase one. As always, I truly do thank you all for your support. Make sure you like and subscribe, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.